Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Nick Swardson took to Instagram and took the Denver Gazette to task. This happened last Friday. You may recall recently Swardson was removed from the stage 20 minutes into his set. He was incoherent, according to eyewitnesses. Swardson posted a screenshot of the Denver Gazette report and commented, "Been a minute to address this. So bleeping dumb that this is news with all that's going on in the world. Love my fans. I'm sorry. Edibles, alcohol, and altitude will happen. Also, I'm not the first person to try that combo in Colorado, all caps. Good Lord. Shows have been great after and will be. Love you. Comedians are humans like everyone. Heart emoji." That got some social media reactions. One user said, "Hey, Nick, I'm a huge fan. One of the reasons this is such a big story is because you went on Theo's podcast talking about how you almost died from alcohol. We love you and we want you to be healthy. That's all." Another wrote, "Get help, brother. Ain't no shame." Someone else, "The 3 worst hangovers in my life was at Vail, and I live in Denver. 10,000 feet is no joke, man. Totally understandable." David Letterman was on Inside the NBA last week. He presented a series of ideas on how the NBA could improve the game. Kenny Smith said, "Is this anything like a top 10 list?" Letterman said, "Why would you say that? Would it be bad if it was?" Some of the ideas include 5 and 10-point lines, team mascots getting all foul shots in the fourth quarter. I kind of like that one. And a proposal to redesign the court to include 2 extra baskets. He even brought a diagram. Ernie Johnson asked if Letterman did that freehand. Dave said, "That's all computer stuff." Letterman was on for like 15 minutes. Here's like a minute or so of that conversation. Not particularly hilarious, but I love Dave.
I didn't know this was Studio J.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
Named after Ernie.
No, it's not.
Johnson.
No.
Oh,
It's thrilling.
Jim Reeves, the late Jim Reeves, who was a great video guy for us. It's named for him.
Oh, that's lovely. So a guy who actually put in time in this building.
Actually, it worked tirelessly and make the show
great.
look as good as it does on some nights.
And the other thing I'm thrilled about is I think I heard one of you invoke the phrase mofo. Which, around the house, I don't get to use that much.
Hey, you worked with us on All-Star Weekend, you and Reggie Miller
was
one
that
of our
fun?
opens.
Reggie Miller, what a sweet guy. It was a real thrill for me. And the production crew that I worked with or worked with me or vice versa, they did all the work. They were tremendous.
Yes.
And everybody here, when I was at CBS, it was like a minimum security prison. And nobody was guilty and everybody wanted to go home. Here, everyone is happy and carefree. And they say they leave the middle of the night. You guys will be here till the sun comes up and everybody will be happy and laughing.
No,
What is going on?
30 years ago, Bill Carter wrote The Late Shift book, a fantastic book, and the HBO movie, The Late Shift, is pretty good. At the time, people made fun of, especially the Jay Leno impression. I think that movie's fantastic. Bill Carter also has a new website called Late Nighter, which I've been checking out a lot. Very good website. Anyway, Bill Carter said, "When I was finishing the book 30 years ago, I initially concluded that Dave had won because he instantly commanded the biggest audiences, knocking Leno's Tonight Show from the pinnacle of late night for the first sustained period in the show's history. But then Jay regained superiority and seemingly vindicated NBC's decision to coronate him, except it never fully resolved. Letterman retained his elite position in the late night pantheon, while Leno piled up ratings titles. They could never fully escape being linked together." That is true. Looking this in the rearview mirror now, I feel like Letterman did make the pantheon, and I feel like Leno is one of those guys that made the Hall of Fame because he played a lot of years. But to be fair, hosting the Tonight Show, you're not supposed to be edgy. If you see young Jay Leno on Letterman, particularly, he was edgy. And when you sit behind the Tonight Show desk, you gotta kind of be more vanilla. And maybe that's why Jimmy Fallon is good at it and Conan struggled a little bit. Who knows? Bill Carter has another book about the second transition, the one involving Conan O'Brien. Let me tell you what that one's called. That one I liked a lot. I read it on the plane to Australia one time. That one's called The War for Late Night, When Leno Went Early and Television Went Crazy. Also very good. Deadline reports that Stephen Colbert will narrate Pope Francis's 6-hour audiobook. That book is called Life, My Story Through History. That went out this week. The Pope has a new audiobook, Life, My Story Throughout History. Guess who's narrating it? Wrong. Stephen Colbert. Maybe you did guess Stephen Colbert. Speaking of notable Catholics, Jim Gaffigan has his weekly column on CBS News. This week, Jim wrote, "Part of me can't believe I'm about to say this, but I like bourbon. I don't know if that means that I'm an old man or just an alcoholic. Enjoying hard liquor is new for me. I've always been a beer guy. In the past, when a friend would say, let's get a scotch and whiskey, I'd think, well, I guess we could pretend like we're in a Tennessee Williams play. Jim said, I decided to surprise my wife by buying a couple bottles of bourbon. Don't tell me I'm not romantic. After the cashier wrapped up the last bottle in bubble wrap like it was some precious historical artifact, she casually mentioned, I don't know if this is a big deal, but this bottle of bourbon cost $1,100. Does it matter? Only if my children expect to go to college. It should have been an easy answer. Nobody needs an $1,100 bottle of bourbon. Haven't gotten to this one yet. Amazon Prime has Ricky Stenicki that follows the misadventures of three loyal yet irresponsible friends. They are played by Zac Efron, Jermaine Fowler, and Andrew Santino. They are forced to bring their imaginary scapegoat friend Ricky Stenicki to life. They do this by hiring Rockhard Rod, who's played by John Cena. Santino and Fowler did a bunch of press. They didn't take any of it too seriously. Rephrasing their comedians, they just gave joke answers to everything. Santino said on set, we, meaning Fowler, are good friends. We're very different, and I think we have all these friends in real life that we love as people, but our lifestyles are extremely different. The way we've grown has been so different, but at the core is that we love each other. We still love to have fun together in real life. I would say we're closer than we are in the film. We're both comedians and actors and two handsome young black men, so we have a lot of that in common, I think. Fowler said, it's true, he's pretty black. Nah, I've learned a lot from this dude, like his knowledge about Rolex watches is pretty outstanding. No joke, I've heard him talk about cars and watches and golf, and I'm like, man, I just like listening to you talk about it. The New York Yankees will give away a George Costanza bobblehead. That's on Seinfeld night, July 5th. Mae Martin is putting out an album, but they told Marc Maron, I'm doing earnest music. I'm putting out an album this year of the most mediocre emotional songs. The music is guitar-based. Mae said, I'm embarrassed by it, so I don't know how I'm ever going to promote it. I might just put it out quietly. If a musician listens to it, I think they'll be like, this is very mediocre. Ty Burrell will lead the ABC comedy Forgive and Forget. You know Ty from Modern Family. Forgive and Forget revolves around Hank, the perennial life of the party, who after an unexpected diagnosis reconnects with his responsible adult son Ben in hopes of making new memories together. Mary Lynn Ricecub, you know her. She was Chloe on 24, and she is a comedian. She has joined the Netflix, CBC, and APTN comedy North of North. It has begun production in Nunavut, Northern Canada. Part of this is Canadian governments will pay for Canadian content. Not sure what the plot of that one is. Sean Kane's album came out last week. Didn't get to tell you about it for reasons we discussed on Saturday. America's Uncle Dad is available everywhere. Streaming audio is enjoyed. Sean jokes about mass transit yoga culture, psychedelics growing up with an adorable lisp, and a takedown of a Simon Garfunkel classic that they promise will forever change how you hear the song. Some of the tracks on Sean Keen's Uncle Dad are Mom Goes Online, and Psychedelics at Karaoke. Caitlin Palufo, I was going to do an interview with Caitlin, and that got lost in the shuffle for reasons discussed on Saturday. Her new album is out as well, and she shared 2 clips with us, so let's play the clips.
Honestly, I didn't think I had a drinking problem until I stopped drinking for 1 month and immediately lost 15 pounds. That's twins. Yes, that is the weight of healthy twins. I dropped little Marg and Rita right there, you know? My body was like, girl, we'll give you abs. Just put down the sangria. It's not fruit, okay?
All right.
I thought the pandemic was going to be a party because I thought it was going to be me and my younger boyfriend getting hammered every night. That's what I thought. But it turns out he's not a big drinker. Yeah, I know. And I honestly should have known because I saw him take NyQuil from the cap. So I was like, we are different people. I use a straw. Who measures their medicine? What a dork, right? Ugh, get a personality.
SpikedOnline.com wrote about the sad demise of the Montreal Comedy Festival. They said, Montreal is huge. Comedians used to schedule careers and international holidays around it. It was crucially the North American Industry Trade Fair. For decades, it was the springboard between the club circuit and the 5-minute breakout spot on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, Late Night with David Letterman, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, or whatever thin Democratic Party propaganda gruel the punch-drunk American people are currently accepting as their late-night swill. Supposedly, by 2025, Montreal will reemerge in a scaled-down format after a financial restructuring, but it surely won't be the same. I agree. A scaled-down version of Montreal is not the same. That was such a good festival. I was talking about it earlier today that I'm sad about it. I want to go up there. I guess I'll just go up to Montreal for Montreal's sake now. Spiked Online writes, You may be asking yourself, why should I care? I'd like to raise the possibility that it's symptomatic of something much bigger, much widespread, and that it should indeed worry all of us. My suspicion is that this is one of many events, former behemoths of live entertainment, that have returned post-lockdown, but in zombie mode. Lazarus-like, they walk out in the light, but something is awry. They have no soul. There's something missing behind the eyes. Yes, live events are back, technically speaking, and have been back for a few years now, but something is still just very slightly off. Something's not quite right. They then talk about how movie-going has changed and wrote, perhaps the comedy festival and the cinema are just a couple of entertainment options whose time had come. That's your comedy news for today. I'm going to get serious here, so if you just came for the comedy, you're dismissed. For everybody else, I'm recording this on Sunday, and this section here I'm on take 4, as I've stumbled several times already. Monday was my mom's wake, and Tuesday was the funeral. I got a lot of notes from listeners, and I've responded to them individually, so I'm not going to do a shout out or a laundry list of, thanks to so-and-so and so-and-so. Thank you so much for the individual notes. It meant a lot. And there was just an edit there where I choked up. I mean, I really, really appreciate the notes, everybody. All right, we should be back to normal tomorrow. Thank you again. We'll see you tomorrow.